Elke, where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in East Germany.
East Germany. So it was East Germany when you were born?
It was, well, at that time the Second World War was on when I was born. It was January 1942. But then when the war was over in May of 1945, the part of Germany that we lived in became Russian territory, and of course communism.
That was part of the division.
That was a division.
Stalin,
the Allies,
Churchill and Roosevelt.
Right. Yeah, the Allies they stopped the war, which was necessary because it was a horrible thing that was happening, and the part of Germany that we lived was put under Russian. How do you say?
Under Russian territorial.
Right, and so we had to live under communism. Yeah. And the first thing they did, they confiscated our lands and made collective farms out of it.
Wow.
And so then, of course, they took over. We had nationalized health care. That was in Germany anyway, kind of going on.
Hitler started that.
Yes, and no more private businesses. Everything was run by the government, the banks, the healthcare system.
At what age do you first remember being aware that government was dangerous for you and your family and being afraid of government?
Me growing into it, I didn't really realize what was happening, just what I heard at home, because my family knew different. And I guess, make a long story short, my mother, what happened, my father ended up in West Germany and we ended up in East Germany, and my mother would illegally cross the border to go see my father, and she would bring goods back into East Germany and sell them, because under communism you just don't have, there was no bananas, no oranges, you just couldn't get the things that...
No meat most of the time.
Right, it was, and everything was rationed. So she came back and she was telling us how things were in West Germany in comparison to East Germany. And because of what she was doing and bringing goods in and out until it was stopped, when they put mines out in the field, she couldn't do it anymore. So then my father and my mother got a divorce, but he had to pay money and she had it sent to West Berlin in West German money instead of East German money. So I even would go in and out with her. And that was before the wall, the wall was built.
Before 1962.
Right. Before the wall was, I think, was it 59 when the wall came up?
Right around.
Around at that time. We were able to do that. And because of the goods that she brought into East Germany and sold it to some of the officials, we were very fortunate to get a visiting visa to go into West Germany, and then we didn't return. That didn't happen.
You performed a service for the officials and they let you get by with what you were doing.
Because they wanted those goods.
Yes, of course.
See, they still, the thing is, the common people they had to give up everything, and the ones that were in power, they still lived very well.
Yeah.
And another thing they did, they confiscated the guns. And I had it happen in my family. A second cousin of mine, he was trying to hide some of the guns in the backyard, and somebody saw it and they turned him in, and he had to go to prison for 5 years.
For trying to keep a gun.
Right. So this is what, that's what happens under communism. They take your land, they stop all private businesses, they turn it all into government-run businesses, they confiscate your guns, and you have to think, and that's what we were taught in school. They drummed it into us that communism is the way to live, that's the utopia.
I know in Russia, 10% of the population, when you were a child and a young woman,
yes,
was in mental hospitals because they were judged insane by the state for not believing in communism.
That's right. See,
did they do that in East Germany as well?
Not that I remember, but my parents left first, and I stayed on with my grandparents in East Germany. And then my grandmother said, I had a visa to go to West Germany, and she says, you gotta leave because they're gonna come and they're gonna take you away, and they're really gonna indoctrinate you and make a communist out of you. And so I I did leave. I was 16 when I got out of East Germany, and then we lived in West Germany for about a year, and because of my father's job, we immigrated to the United States, which was a very happy day. But the happiest day was when I became a citizen.
Now, when was that?
Well, that was until 1987. And
you had to wait a long time, you had to learn English, you had to take a test.
Yes, and I worked, I have to say, within a year I had a job, and it never stopped, and nobody catered to us, you know, speaking German to us. We had to learn the language, and I had 4 years of Russian. Under communism, you had to learn the Russian. It was mandatory to learn the Russian language. But all I can say, communism doesn't work. They take God out of everything. Communism is anti-God.
Communism is the state, and if you have God, you serve a higher power than the state.
And that's not going to work for them. So they took God out. So there were no churches. On Sunday mornings, they gathered us up and took us in trucks out to the collective farms, and we had to work out there. There was no church service, so we grew up without religious training. And
it was just a few years before you were born that Hitler outlawed religious training in school, and then one day in the 1930s, boom, it was gone.
It was gone. So, and the same thing happened in East Germany. And what we know, it doesn't work because East Germany, it just about fell apart because everybody was working for the government, and they were putting in their 8 hours. They didn't take the extra mile, and there was no incentive.
No spirit of accomplishment.
That's right, and that's why when finally the wall came down in '89, and West Germany had to put a lot of money into East Germany to bring it up to their level, and I think even now, after all these years, it's still not there. It was always like day and night.
What do Germans say today about Ronald Reagan?
You know, I don't know because I haven't been there since 1989.
So
but I am going next year for over 50 years class reunion, and I'm going to go what used to be East Germany to meet with all my friends that I went to school with, and I'm going to find out. But I know on one of my visits back in 1987, they thought from what they had heard and everything that like West Germany and especially America was just the land of dreams. I mean, they couldn't even imagine. And so what can I say? Communism doesn't work. We got to fight socialism. We got to fight communism because it will not work.
What do you see happening in America that gives you a chill?
Is what I see it because like he's taking over the healthcare, taking over the automobile business, the banks, and all that. I think is he is heading that way. And the speeches that I hear, you know, helping the common man, helping the poor. That's what we were taught in school under communism, helping the poor. I think they're going to move.